The night before my housewarming, my phone flashed. "We're not coming, like your sister Ava just moved." No call, no sorry, just a cold sentence that felt like a knife made of pixels. I blew out the candles, locked the door, and stood in a room I built for ghosts. And a week later, while HGTV floated cameras through my new place, the same phone wouldn't stop screaming. 30 missed calls stacked like tides. And that's when it clicked. My family didn't forget me, they erased me. You ever realize you were the backup child? The be practical kid, socks for Christmas while someone else got the gold box? Be honest, if you were me, what would you do? If this hits a nerve, hit like, tell me in the comments, and subscribe. Because tonight I'm saying it out loud. I'm done being invisible. The night before my housewarming, my phone lit up with a text that felt like a blade made of pixels. "We're not coming, your sister Ava just moved." No call, no sorry, just a sentence that took a bat to my ribcage. I stood there in a kitchen that smelled like cedar oil and lemon, candles breathing little halos across the stone, and felt something old split open, like a hairline crack running the length of a beam you never thought to check. I blew the candles out one by one, each tiny exhale a funeral for a version of me that kept waiting for them. Then I locked the door. It clicked with a sound that didn't feel like no, it felt like enough. I wish I could say I cried, I didn't. I went quiet, the same quiet I learned at 10 when I brought home a blue ribbon, and my father said, "That's nice, try not to stay up so late next time," and turned back to the TV, and the same quiet of socks for Christmas while a gold box crossed someone else's lap. The same quiet of being the structure kid, useful, predictable, invisible until something breaks. If you know that quiet, drop a me in the comments so the rest of us see each other. Because what came next didn't grow out of rage. It grew out of a silence that got tired of being mistaken for consent. I put the phone face down in a drawer. No dramatic toss, no tears, just enough. That one word started to breathe in my chest. The Pacific outside was restless, tapping the glass like it had a message I needed to read. I pulled out my leather notebook, the same beat-up one I've dragged through airports and studio builds and sleepless nights, and drew a line down a blank page. On the left, always had a seat. On the right, never did. The names poured out. Friends who were only invited to serve, not to sit. Cousins who washed dishes while someone else took the picture. An aunt who got told, "You talk too much at dinner." A mentor who always stood because the table was full. If you're hearing your own life in this, hit like so the algorithm doesn't bury it. Somebody needs to know they're not alone. By 2 a.m., I'd rolled out tracing paper across my dining table and started drafting a night the way you draft a home. I mapped light sources so nobody sat in shadow. I measured chair spacing so no one had to elbow their way into belonging. I drew sightlines to the ocean so no one's back was ever turned to the horizon, because the message needed to be clear. Your view matters. On top of the page, I wrote in pencil, "Everyone has a seat." Then I underlined it until the graphite dug a groove. It felt like chiseling a boundary out of air. Here's where the hook lands. When your family uses a text to erase you, you can shrink, or you can redesign the room. I chose the room. By morning, I was sending messages so short they cut. "Dinner this Saturday, come hungry." Not "if you can," not "no worries if not." I called Rachel, the friend I picked up alone at an airport more times than I can count. I called Eli, the cousin who got cropped out of photos because he didn't fit the vibe. I called Aunt May, who ate in the kitchen for years because laughter at the table was too loud. Their first reaction, disbelief. Their second, relief. That relief? It hit me like sunrise. If you've ever planned a party for people who've never been truly invited, you know what I mean. Drop a heart so I find you. I drove to the hardware store and bought twine, marine-grade clips, a roll of waterproof cloth. The clerk said, "Big party?" I said, "Something like that." Translation, a small revolution. Back home, I moved the way builders move when the permit's finally stamped. Sleeves rolled, clipboard out, brain in blueprint mode. 15 identical place settings, no head seat, no power corner. Linen that felt neutral and warm. Name cards that simply read, "You belong here." The words looked almost shy sitting on thick paper, but the message was an earthquake under every chair. Every time anger tried to stand up, I put my palm on the old cedar table I built when I was 12, the one with the uneven legs that somehow never wobbles. In the grain of that wood, I could feel a younger me sanding until her arms shook, whispering, This is mine. That table has been my desk, my drafting board, my altar. That night it became my compass. Somewhere between taping down the last extension cord and checking the wind against the glass, I realized I wasn't planning a dinner. I was building a boundary you could sit at. If you've ever been the backup child, the be practical kid, the one who gets told, don't make a spectacle, I see you. Type structure in the comments so I can say your name back to you. And if you're thinking, what would I do if my family sent that text? What would you do? Sit with that. Then come back for part 2, because the night I set this table, the world showed up, and so did the cameras. Share this with the person you bring into rooms that rarely let them in. We're not done yet. By Friday, the house felt like a stage right before the curtain. Lights strung low for warmth, not spotlight. Wildflowers from the cliff tucked into glass like the ocean had roots. The air was eucalyptus and lavender, and something else. Anticipation. Margaret, the chef I trusted with my entire appetite, stood in my kitchen stirring chowder like she was conducting strings. She asked, "What kind of dinner is this?" I said, "It's for people who stop getting invited." She didn't ask another question. She just salted like ceremony. Late afternoon, the HGTV crew arrived for what they called one last bit of B-roll. I hadn't planned on it, but the house had been born in silence. Maybe it needed to be seen that way. They moved like ghosts with lenses, catching the way silverware lined up like rib bones, the way sun slid through cedar beams. One cameraman whispered, "You move like you built it." Shocking line, but not wrong. I didn't respond. I was too busy making sure nobody's chair wobbled. Not tonight. Then the hill lit up with headlights. Through the glass, silhouettes stepped out like a roll call of the overlooked. Rachel's kids sprinted. Aunt May clutched a pie the way people hold history. Eli's smile looked cautious, like maybe the welcome was a trick that could be pulled back. I opened the door and said nothing fancy, just, "You're on time." Sometimes that's the holiest compliment you can give someone who's been left waiting their whole life. Here's the part that will make some of you angry in the best way. There was no toast, no, "I'd like to thank my guests," no speeches to prove I deserved them. We sat. We passed bread. The salmon smelled like thyme and tide. Voices started soft, then found their footing. I took a seat halfway down, dead center of the human grid. No head, no tail, just a table that ran parallel to the ocean like a promise. The candles reflected in the glass, so it looked like the horizon itself had started to flicker. Small, steady heartbeats. If you're picturing it, smash the like so the story reaches the next person who needs this view. I won't lie, something healed in that room. Not like a movie, no glittering montage. More like a fracture that had been set finally learning to bear weight. People told stories they'd never told. About standing in doorways, about learning to make plates look full. About being a guest who could never quite stay. Quiet justice doesn't shout. It rearranges furniture until everyone can breathe. That's what the night did. The episode aired the following week on a sheet we hung on the terrace wall. Isa. Sea humming below, house glowing like bone. The narrator said my name and the line I'd said months ago when I was more architect than narrator. Fairness isn't decorative, it's structural. The crowd hushed like church. Rachel leaned over and whispered, "You said that." I said, "Yeah." Behind us, the black water kept its rhythm. The credits rolled, people clapped, and then, because irony has a wicked sense of timing, my phone began to scream. 30 missed calls stacked like tides. "We saw the show. Why didn't you tell us? Everyone's talking. You embarrassed us. Call me back." If you've ever had someone hurt you and then get angry at the mirror, you know the nausea that climbs your throat. I didn't answer. I checked the last box in my notebook. Dinner completed. It felt like laying down a tool after the final nail. At noon, my grandmother called. She didn't ask how I was. She said, "They'll try to rewrite it." I asked, "Rewrite what?" "History," and she said, like it tasted bitter, "Don't argue, let the truth sit in the open, it's stronger there." When my mother finally got me on speaker, the kitchen felt too bright. Her voice went sugar sharp. "We watched your episode, huge misunderstanding. They made it sound like we excluded you. That isn't true, your sister was moving, you know how busy things get." I looked out at the water, brightness flickering like a lie. You excluded me in your own words. I said, I still have the text. Silence. Then the classic pivot. You're overreacting again. There it was, the sentence kids like me can recite in our sleep. If that line ever got thrown at you, type I hear you below so we can drown it out together. My grandmother's voice broke in, steady as a plumb line. Judy, stop. I've watched you do this since she was a child, always turning the light away from her. Every Christmas, every birthday. My mother's phone's tightened. Mother, this isn't the time. It's the only time, Grandma said. You called it fairness. It was favoritism. I heard my father mutter in the background. Drama. She always wants attention. That one landed like a slap I'd been dodging for 20 years. But here's the miracle, I didn't bleed this time. The silence that followed wasn't mine to carry, it belonged to them. If you've stayed this far, tell me in the comments, when did the truth finally sit in the open for you? And if this has you clenching your jaw right now, share it with someone who keeps getting told they're too sensitive. We're not done. There's one more room we have to walk into together. 2 days later, the house exhaled. The chairs still leaned toward one another like they'd been talking after we left. Linen held the soft crease of elbows and laughter. The Pacific had calmed, gray, steady, indifferent to human plot twists. I'd turned my phone face down again, not as a performance, as a choice. People think the opposite of chaos is control. Sometimes the opposite of chaos is quiet. I opened the terrace doors and let the wind thread itself through the cedar beams until the house sounded like a throat clearing. For years, I built spaces where other people could belong. I think I always assumed that if the room felt right, the old ache would just evaporate. It doesn't. It lightens, it learns new balance. That morning, I understood the next thing I had to build wasn't public. It wasn't a 15-chair declaration. It was a 4-person boundary. I set the small cedar table, the first one I ever built, the one with the uneven legs that has somehow outlasted every perfect thing. 4 plates, 4 glasses, a bottle of red, the fire in the grate, no cameras, no speeches, no armor. I invited my parents and Ava. If you're yelling at your screen right now, I get it. But hear me, boundaries are doors you can open or close, not walls you die behind. They came looking smaller, as if the air at the cliff edge stole some volume from their voices. My mother ran her fingers along the chair's edge and whispered, "It's beautiful, different from what I imagined." I said, "It's home," and I meant both the house and the feeling in my chest. We sat, the fire crackled. The food tasted like simplicity, the way meals do when no one is performing hunger or grace. No one apologized. Shocking, maybe. Honest, absolutely. Sometimes an apology is a decoy that keeps the system the same. What we had was rarer, a space where nobody lied about the shape of what hurt. My father cleared his throat and offered a safe sentence. "Food's good." Ava stared at the table, thumb worrying the edge of her napkin, and said in a voice I almost didn't recognize, "I didn't know it hurt that much." I said, I didn't know how to say it. That's not closure. That's contact. The silence between us changed temperature. It stopped biting. It became room. Room to breathe without having to justify oxygen. If you've ever tasted that shift, describe it below so someone else knows what to look for. Was it a look, a breath, a laugh that didn't get punished? For me, it was the way the old cedar table held. It didn't wobble when someone finally told the truth. That table has always been better than its measurements. After they left, I stayed by the fire until the embers glowed like tiny warnings with soft edges. The house pressed its palm against my back the way spaces do when they recognize you. The waves outside kept the same rhythm they've kept since before I learned words. Only now the sound wasn't distance, it was return. I stepped onto the terrace, night cool across my skin, and put my hand on the table's scarred lip. I thought about all the times I waited for someone to pull out a chair for me. Here's the answer I wish I could mail to my younger self. You can build the table. People will ask, "So are you okay now? Is it fixed?" The grown-up answer is, "It's balanced. I don't need victory. I needed to stop carrying a weight that was never mine." You might too. If this gave you words for something you've been dragging around, hit like so the next person finds it. Drop a comment with the sentence you're done hearing. I'll start, "You're overreacting." Share this with the friend who thinks boundaries aren't meanness. Boundaries are design, protection with proportions. Here's the last shock line, the one that used to slice me open and now just glances off. Don't make a spectacle. You know what I hear now? Don't make us look. And my answer is simple: I won't make you look. I'll make a room you can walk into when you're ready. There will be a seat. It won't be the only one. No heads, no tail, just a table running parallel to an ocean that doesn't care who you think you are. If this story stayed with you, if you felt that click at the lock, the hush at the candles, the hum of a room built for belonging, subscribe. We're building more than content here. We're building rooms. And I promise you this, somewhere out there, another quiet revenge is waiting to be designed. Here's where I landed. I didn't win. I didn't convert anybody. I just stopped carrying what wasn't mine. That little click of the lock, the candles going out, the 4 plates on the old cedar table, that was me choosing balance over noise. And still, part of me wonders, am I in the wrong? For turning off my phone? For building a room where everyone has a seat except entitlement? If you've been the backup child, you know that doubt is muscle memory. It still twitches. What I learned, silence isn't surrender, it's design. Boundaries aren't walls, they're floor plans. You can love people and still measure the doorway to fit your nervous system. You can feed them and still refuse to starve yourself. My job isn't to make anyone look good. My job is to make space that doesn't hurt. So tell me honestly, what would you have done in my place? Drop it in the comments. If this gave you language for a feeling you've been dragging around, hit like so someone else finds it. Share it with the friend who keeps apologizing for taking up room. And subscribe if you want more stories where justice doesn't shout. It stands steady as a table you built with your own hands.